Hi, John. Thank you very much. I'd like you to meet Terry Poff tonight. Tell me I said that last name correctly, Terry. Granite State or born and bred?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for being here. And what's your question for the candidates tonight?
Well, my question is that I am a New Hampshire native, and I've been an active Republican for years, from a town committee chairman, Republican chairman, Merrimack County vice chairman, all the way up to a 2004 delegate for President Bush. My question is, how will you convince myself? I'm not a libertarian Republican. I'm not a Tea Party Republican. I'm just a mainstream Republican, and we need both the independents and mainstream Republicans to win in November. How can you convince me and assure me that you'll bring a balance and you won't be torn to one side or the other from any faction within the party? You have to have a balanced approach to governing to solve our serious problems.
Senator Santorum, let me let you go first on that one.
Well, if you look at my record, I'm someone who's actually accomplished a lot on big issues. Take, for example, welfare reform. I was in the United States Senate, and actually at the direction of Newt Gingrich, I was on the Ways and Means Committee, and I drafted the Contract with America welfare reform bill. It was considered this extreme measure. Well, that extreme measure, we ended up winning an election and getting those seats, and that was now the starting point. And I managed that bill in the United States Senate because I cared about the dignity of every person. I didn't believe that poverty was the ultimate disability. I believed that people could work and they could succeed. And we brought people together. I got 70 votes to end a federal entitlement. To end a federal entitlement, which was what Paul Ryan's proposed for Medicaid. He's proposed for food stamps. He's proposed for other welfare programs. We did it. We set the template, and I led and got bipartisan support to do it.
Can I ask you quickly, that wasn't addressed part of the question, but are you concerned at all about the influence of the Tea Party?
Not at all. I think the Tea Party is a great, great backstop for America. I love it when people hold up this Constitution and say we have to live by what our founders laid out for this country. It is absolutely essential that we have that backbone to the Republican Party going into this election.
I know you agree, Congresswoman, so help the gentleman. Address his concerns that the Tea Party somehow, the influence of the Tea Party somehow pushes him out.
Terry, what I've seen in the Tea Party, I'm the chairman of the Tea Party caucus in the House of Representatives, and what I've seen is, unlike how the media has tried to wrongly and grossly portray the Tea Party is really made up of disaffected Democrats, independents, people who've never been political a day in their life, people who are libertarians, Republicans. It's a wide swath of America coming together. I think that's why the left fears it so much, because they're people who simply want to take the country back. They want the country to work again. And I think there's no question, Terry, this election will be about economics. It will be about how will we create jobs, how will we turn the economy around, how will we have a pro-growth economy. That's a great story for Republicans to tell. President Obama can't tell that story. His report card right now has a big failing grade on it, but Republicans have an awesome story to tell. We need every one of us in a three-legged stool. We need the peace through strength Republicans, we need the fiscal conservatives, we need the social conservatives, we need everybody to come together because we're going to win. Just make no mistake about it. I want to announce tonight, President Obama is a one-term president. We'll win.
I'm being polite so far, but I want to remind everybody about the time. Mr. Kane, as somebody who has no elective experience,
yes.
This gentleman's question, if you were to become the nominee of this party,
yes,
and you associate yourself with the Tea Party, politics is about math. It's about coalition building. And a candidate who loses a mainstream Republican, as he describes himself, might not win this state in November, might not win a big state like Senator Santorum's Pennsylvania in November. Address the concern of the gentleman who seems to think that at least some people in the Tea Party, maybe in their dissatisfaction, their anger at the president, are too negative, too critical.
They're not too negative, they're not too critical. As a businessman, one of the first things that you do, which has allowed me to be successful throughout my career, is make sure you're working on the right problem. If we make sure we're working on the right problem, I will surround myself with the right people, and then we will put together the right plans that I'm going to take it to the people. I will be a president to do what's right, not what's politically right. And so if the other party disagrees, but the American people embrace those common sense solutions, that's how we get things done. So those experiences in the business world, managing large organizations with a very diverse constituency of the same skills that can help get the people involved and not exclude the people like this administration has done.
All right, I want to remind the candidates know this. I remind people in the audience, CNN is hosting a Tea Party debate September 12th to watch how this plays out. The Tea Party was vocal in 2010. We'll see how much the influence is in 2012. Well, let's continue our conversation here with the voters of New Hampshire. Gene Mackin of WMUR is in Hancock with a voter and a question. Gene?
Thanks very much, John, and welcome to the Hancock Inn. I'm standing here with Mike Patinsky. He is a small business owner from Harrisville, New Hampshire. And Mike, what question do you have tonight?
Well, for the candidates, I'd like to know how they plan on returning manufacturing jobs to the United States.
Congressman Paul, why don't you start with that one?
Pretty important, because everything we've done in the last 20 or 30 years, we've exported our jobs. And when you have a reserve currency of the world and you abuse it, you export money. That becomes the main export, so it goes with the money. You have to invite capital. The way you get capital into a country, you have to have a strong currency, not a weak currency. Today, it's a deliberate job of the Federal Reserve to weaken our currency. We should invite capital back. First thing is we have trillions of dollars, at least over $1 trillion of U.S. money made overseas, but it stays over there because if they bring it home, they get taxed. If you want to, we need to get the Fed to quit printing the money, and if you want capital, you have to entice those individuals to repatriate their money and take the taxes off us, set up a financial system, deregulate and de-tax, to invite people to go back to work again. But as long as we run a program of deliberately weakening our currency, our jobs will go overseas, and that is what's happened for a good many years, especially in the last decade.
Governor Pawlenty, does the congressman have it right?
Well, there's a number of things we need to do to restore manufacturing in this country, and I grew up in a meatpacking town. I grew up in a manufacturing town. I was in a union for 6 or 7 years. I understand what it's like to see the blue-collar communities and the struggles that they've had when manufacturing leaves. So I've seen that firsthand. But number one, we got to have fair trade. And what's going on right now is not fair. I'm for a fair and open trade, but I'm not for being stupid, and I'm not for being a chump. And we have individuals and organizations and countries around this world who are not following the rules when it comes to fair trade. We need a stronger president and somebody who's going to take on those issues. Number two, we need to make the costs and burdens of manufacturing in this country lower. We're asking them to climb the mountain with a big backsack full of rocks on their back, and we have to take the rocks out. One of them is Obamacare. I met somebody in Arizona the other day who's moving his whole company out of the country just because of Obamacare. The taxes are too high, the regulations are too heavy, the permitting is too slow, and the message everywhere around this country from business leaders, large and small, including manufacturing, is get the government off my back. As president, I will.
How about to help workers, Congressman, get ready for the new jobs in manufacturing? Should the United States government, the federal government, be, say, helping community colleges with their vocational training programs and things like that?
Well, the United States federal government and the states have done numerous job training programs over the year with mixed results. This is what we need to do to turn job creation around and bring manufacturing back to the United States. What we need to do is today, the United States has the second highest corporate tax rate in the world. I'm a former federal tax lawyer. I've seen the devastation. We've got to bring that tax rate down substantially so that we're among the lowest in the industrialized world. Here's the other thing. Every time the liberals get into office, they pass an omnibus bill of big spending projects. What we need to do is pass the mother of all repeal bills, but it's the repeal bill that will get of job-killing regulations. And I would begin with the EPA. Because there is no other agency like the EPA. It should really be renamed the Job-Killing Organization of America.
Okay, I'll get you 1 second. I just want to show people. We're asking people who are watching at home also to tell us on Facebook and Twitter what concerns them. If you watch up here and take a look, just look what's happened. 3 most important issues this election season, regardless of party: jobs, the jobless, and whether you want a job. Senator Santorum, your state, Pennsylvania, a big industrial state that has struggled in recent years.
I always am from Pennsylvania. We still make things there, and I represented the Steel Valley of Pittsburgh when I was in the Congress. And what I learned from growing up in Butler, Pennsylvania, Steel Town, is that the broad middle of America was a broad middle of America when we had lots of manufacturing here. Because that's how the wealth from those who create the jobs get down, and we've been outsourcing those jobs. So what we need to do is a lot of what was said here. I would add one other thing that I'm specifically proposing. We need to cut the capital gains tax in half, which others proposed. But for manufacturers, we need to give a 5-year window where we cut it to 0. We want to encourage people to set up jobs here in America. Take that R&D credit, make it permanent, take that innovation, and then invest that money here to create that broad middle of America and have that wealth really trickle down.
Let's stay on jobs and the economy. We'll get to everybody. I just want to bring Josh McKelvey from WMUR down here on the floor. He has a question related to this.
Thank you, John. Good evening, candidates. Governor Plenty, the possibility exists that New Hampshire could soon become the 23rd state to pass right-to-work legislation. Unions don't like it because they feel that making membership voluntary would weaken organized labor. You know, you've seen the protests in your home state of Minnesota. My question is, where do you fall on right-to-work, and would you support a federal right-to-work law?
We live in the United States of America, and people shouldn't be forced to belong or be a member in any organization, and the government has no business telling people what group you have to be a member of or not. I support strongly right-to-work legislation. I got one more thing, John. Like I said, for much of his life, my dad was a Teamster truck driver. My brothers and sisters, many of them are in unions. I was in a union. We grew up in a blue-collar town. I understand these issues. My family were Reagan Democrats. Now, most of them listen to Rush Limbaugh, actually. But the point is, I understand these issues. But we don't have a government tell us what organizations or associations we should be in. We tell the government what to do.
Mr. Speaker, I assume you agree, and as you come into the conversation, one of the criticisms, you tell me whether it's fair or not, one of the criticisms has been, as you watch some of these governors deal with this issue across the country, that some people say there's a tone about it, that they seem to be trying to demonize public employees or union workers.
Well, that's a totally different question. The question that was asked was right to work. And one of the things the Congress should do immediately is defund the National Labor Relations Board, which has gone into South Carolina to punish Boeing, which wants to put 8,000 American jobs in South Carolina by fundamentally eliminating right to work at the National Labor Relations Board. Now, that's a real immediate threat from the Obama administration to eliminate right to work, and I think that it is fundamentally the wrong direction. I hope that New Hampshire does adopt right to work. I'd frankly keep it at the state level, because as each new state becomes right to work, they send the signal to the remaining states, don't be stupid. Why would you want to be California's unemployment level when you could be Texas's employment level or North Dakota's? And I think if you believe in the 10th Amendment, we ought to let the states learn from each other. And the right-to-work states are creating a lot more jobs today than the heavily unionized states. The public employee union question is a totally different issue.
All right, maybe we'll come back to that. Mr. Kane, I want to let you in quickly on this one. As a businessman who says your strength in this campaign is someone who's created jobs, to the question of right to work.
Yes, I do believe that the states should have the right. I believe in right to work, and I hope that New Hampshire is able to get it passed. And I agree with the Speaker and the others who believe that if the federal government continues to do the kinds of things that this administration is trying to do through the back door, through the National Labor Relations Board, that's killing our free market system, and the free market system is what made this economy great, and we have to keep the free market system strong.
All right, a lot more ground to cover with our candidates tonight. We're about to take our first break of the evening. We will have several, a lot more ground to cover, a lot more domestic policy, a lot of foreign policy. We want to see who you might want as your next commander-in-chief, should you choose to make President Obama a one-term president. One of the other things we want to do, though, is to learn a little bit more about these candidates and their personality. So I'm going to borrow something from my sports fan experience. Every time we go to break or come back from break, I'm going to ask the candidates, one at a time, a question I'll call this or that. I give them a choice. These are not serious political issues. It's just to show a little bit of the personal side of our candidates. Senator Santorum, I want to start with you.
Thank you.
Of course. Leno or Conan?
Probably Leno, but I don't watch either. Sorry.
All right, excellent. That's all right. That's the answer. The answer is the answer. And for those of you watching at home, remember, the Facebook, Twitter, send us your questions, send us your analysis. A little bit later, we'll also give you a chance for some exclusive content. Get your smartphone ready. I'll explain that a little bit ahead. We'll be right back at St. Anselm College in just a moment.